Some men walk away like they're done, but they're not. Weeks pass, months even, and suddenly, there they are again. A message, a call, like nothing happened. It confuses you, it stirs emotions you tried to bury, and it makes you wonder, why do they come back after no contact? The answer isn't just emotional, it's psychological, and sometimes strategic. Hi, I'm Vernon again. Today we're going to unpack 4 clear reasons why men return after silence, based on experience, male psychology, and timeless human behavior. If something in this already echoes your own experience, consider supporting the channel. Share it with someone who might need to hear this. Subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment so we know this message found you. Let's begin with the first reason. Subtle, often hidden beneath layers of silence, yet it's the one that quietly shapes more reunions than most women ever realize. 1. A man can't stand an unfinished story. Men often return because something deep inside them remains unresolved. Not all departures are final. Some are escapes, temporary retreats born out of fear, confusion, or emotional overwhelm. And when the dust settles, the unfinished parts call them back. In psychology, this is known as the Zeigarnik effect, the mind's tendency to cling to what's unresolved. But beyond theory, it speaks to something more human. Our deep discomfort with open endings, that last conversation that trailed off instead of concluding, the goodbye that never felt real, the questions left hanging in the air. They don't just sit in memory, they echo. For many men, this echo becomes unbearable over time. They return not because they've moved forward, but because a part of them is still circling the past, trying to finish a sentence that never got its final word. He may think about how you looked the last time he saw you, the words left unsaid, the way you didn't chase him. These details linger because they don't fit the narrative he expected. And in silence, what's unresolved becomes louder. Sometimes he doesn't return because he wants to pick up where things left off. He comes back because he's haunted by what wasn't finished. But here's the part most women miss. Just because he returns doesn't mean he's ready. A man circling back doesn't always mean he's changed. Sometimes he just needs to feel something again, to confirm he still matters, that he hasn't been forgotten. That's why your role isn't to assume, it's to observe. You don't need to reopen old doors to prove anything. Instead, ask yourself, has he grown, or is he just restless? Your silence taught you strength. Don't trade it for another round of uncertainty. Sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is to let him return and still choose not to answer. Understanding this isn't just about protecting your heart. It's about recognizing how far you've come in silence. The next time he knocks, the real question isn't whether he deserves another chance. It's whether you've outgrown the version of yourself that once waited for him. And that brings us to another reason men return, one rooted not in love, but in control. 2. He misses the power, not the partnership. Some men don't return out of longing. They return out of absence. Not of you, but of the man they once felt like when you were near. The man who felt admired, important, central. When you stop revolving around them, when your world no longer feeds their image, they don't miss the relationship. They miss the reflection. That feeling of control, that quiet comfort of emotional dominance. They mistake the echo of their own importance for love, and they come back chasing it. But this kind of return isn't about reconnection. It's about reclaiming lost ground. And if you're not careful, you'll mistake that need for significance as a second chance at love. It's not. It's a reminder that what they lost wasn't just you. It was their place at the center of your world. After no contact, when you stop reaching out, when your world doesn't revolve around them anymore, something shifts. And for some men, that shift is deeply unsettling. Because in silence, they begin to lose the invisible leverage they once had. Psychologists refer to this as narcissistic supply, the emotional fuel some individuals unconsciously seek to affirm their importance. But look deeper, and you'll see a quiet hunger beneath it. The need to feel significant without having to be accountable. When the stream of validation slows, they start to feel invisible, and they return not to repair the bond, but to revive the version of themselves they felt most powerful in. Often it's not you they miss, but the mirror you once held up for them. I've seen this dynamic in my own marriage. Years ago, my wife and I went through a long silence. I thought I needed space, time to think. But in truth, I was chasing a version of myself that I thought I had lost. When I came back, I wasn't ready to love her. I was only hoping to feel like myself again through her reflection. It wasn't until I confronted my need for control and not connection that real healing began. And she didn't let me back in easily. She made me earn the right to stand beside her again. That changed me more than the silence ever could. But here's what you need to know. When he comes back, pay attention to what he talks about. Is it you, your growth, your healing? Or is it how things used to be, what he lost, how much he meant to you? There's a difference between someone who misses you and someone who misses being the center of your life. This is where wisdom matters. When a man returns for control, not connection, your clarity becomes your protection. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't owe him access just because he remembers your worth now that you've stopped offering it freely. Real love doesn't come crawling back only when it loses attention. It shows up even in silence, with humility, not entitlement. And sometimes the deepest proof of love is not in the return, but in the quiet effort to become worthy of return. Which leads us to the third reason, one that speaks less to the heart and more to the ego's last defense: regret.
3. Regret wears the face of love.
When a man returns after silence, it may not be because he wants to build a future. It's because he can't bear the one he let go of. Regret is rarely loud. It creeps in slowly, through ordinary moments. He sees your photo online, hears your laughter in a memory, watches someone else love you with the patience he never offered. Regret isn't always about what he lost. It's about what he failed to become when he had the chance. That's the part that haunts him. Men don't always regret the breakup immediately. Some take months, even years, because while women often process pain early, men tend to run from it until life quiets down enough for the truth to echo. And when it does, he may return not with promises, but with questions, carefully placed like stones to test the waters. Do you still think of him? Is the door still open? Will you allow the past to try again, even if it hasn't grown? These questions aren't just about reconnection. They're a quiet plea for relief from guilt, for validation without accountability. And that's where your wisdom matters most. Because love isn't proven by returning, it's proven by transforming. And not every man who circles back is ready for the weight of the woman you've become. If this part of the story touches something in you, save this video to revisit when the silence feels loud again. It may speak louder the second time. But here's the truth. Not every regret deserves redemption. Some lessons in life must be learned in absence, not in reunion. A man who couldn't cherish you in presence must sometimes be left to face the echo of what he lost. Your growth is not a gift to be handed back to the one who once walked away. It is a quiet monument to your healing. And perhaps the most powerful response to regret is to keep walking with grace without needing to be seen turning back. Forgiveness doesn't always mean return. Closure doesn't always mean conversation. And strength sometimes is found in letting regret stay on the other side of the door. Because some chapters aren't meant to be rewritten. They're meant to be remembered, learned from, and left closed. And in that quiet decision to not reopen the past, a new kind of peace begins. Now let's bring everything together. 4. Loneliness is louder in silence than love ever was. There comes a moment when a man, sitting in the stillness of his own life, begins to feel the weight of the absence, not necessarily of love, but of presence, of someone who once saw him, reminded him of his better self, or simply made the quiet moments feel less empty. And when the distractions fade, when the attention he once had no longer follows him, that silence becomes deafening. He may not come back because he truly misses you, but because he's terrified you've stopped missing him. That someone else now holds your attention, your laughter, your mornings. In psychology, this fear is known as replacement anxiety, the fear of being replaced, forgotten, outgrown. It's not love that drives the return. It's the fear of becoming irrelevant in the life of someone who once made him feel like he mattered. But here's the reflection. If a man comes back not to offer his presence, but to reclaim his position, then he's not returning for connection. He's returning to quiet the noise in his own mind. And you, now standing in your own power, must ask, are you a home or a hiding place? Because love that comes from loneliness often leaves when comfort returns. Now, let's bring everything together, not just as a summary, but as a reflection. Because what we've explored isn't just about why he comes back. It's about what you choose when he does. We often wait for closure to arrive from someone else, but sometimes the most complete closure is the one we give ourselves. His return might stir something in you, but that doesn't mean it's meant to be rekindled. It might be life's way of asking, have you healed, or are you still hoping? Have you grown strong enough to say, I remember, but I've moved on? Remember, healing is not about never being tempted by the past. It's about recognizing it and still choosing peace. So the next time silence breaks and he appears again, ask yourself not whether he's changed, but whether you have. And if you have, let that be enough. If this reflection offered clarity or strength, share it with someone else who might be standing at that same emotional crossroads. Subscribe to stay close. We'll keep walking this road of wisdom together. When the desire for control masquerades as love. Some stories don't end with a bang, but with a whisper that lingers long after the door has closed. We've explored why some men return after silence, not just for love, but for power, regret, or the comfort of familiarity. And yet, behind every reason is a deeper question, not about him, but about you. Because perhaps the real story here is not his return, but your return to yourself. The truth is, silence doesn't just reveal others, it reveals us. It shows us the parts of ourselves we abandoned while loving someone who couldn't meet us halfway. It teaches us that closure is not something we're given, but something we choose. And it reminds us that not every echo from the past deserves to become a new beginning. Western philosophy tells us, man is not disturbed by things, but by the view he takes of them. Epictetus. So when he returns, don't just ask why now, but ask, what do I see more clearly now? Not every knock deserves an open door. Not every message deserves a reply. And not every story deserves a second chapter. Some deserve a lesson, a breath, and a quiet turning of the page. You are no longer waiting. You are witnessing. And that changes everything. If this message stirred something in you, shared clarity, or simply a quiet nod of truth, help it reach someone who might need it too. Like this video if it resonated. Share it with a friend who's still finding their way through the silence. And subscribe to stay connected as we keep unpacking the truths no one else dares to say, but everyone deserves to hear. You are not alone on this path, and the next chapter is yours to write. And I'm Vernon. Thanks for watching my video.